Hello and welcome to the first episode of Harry's Talks. I'm absolutely delighted to be your host today, and my name is Christine Kotzis and I'm the Business Development Manager for Harry the Hirer here in Sydney. The intention of this webinar is to share some hopeful stories and inspiration from ambitious leaders in the wedding industry. The episode is dedicated to all the couples out there who have had to reimagine their wedding day. We are going to offer some creative advice on how to have fun and stay safe, a peek behind the scenes on how a spectacular wedding comes together, love in the times of COVID, creating beauty and intimacy whilst being socially distant, what happens when you can't dance, being reflective and grateful, and food, amazing food. So please get comfortable, get ready to tune in. Today we hope you'll be inspired by our conversation with Wendy Alkuri from Wedded Wonderland, Diane Curie from DK Events, Najee Kazami from the George Kazami Group, and Courtney McInnes from Harry the Hirer. So Wendy, if I can direct my first question to you, please. Wendy, you have worked globally as an educator, an event director, a project manager, and a marketing connoisseur, and collectively you have over 2 million followers online. I've got to say, that's pretty impressive. Tell us your story.
Thank you. So Wedded Wonderland started its journey wanting to inspire businesses and couples from around the world. We really started on the journey of love with our community 7 years ago. And I think it's important to mention that no matter how many followers you have online, it's really about growing a community and wanting to give information, advice and knowledge. And now more than ever, that is important in the conversation around weddings.
Thank you, that's fantastic. And at the moment, what trends are you seeing emerge through COVID-19?
Oh, we are seeing all sorts of things. We are seeing intimate weddings, elopements, postponements, and crazy ways that couples are creating photo shoots, proposal ideas. I think, you know, creativity is something that is the calling of the wedding industry, and people are coming together to come up with unique and exciting ways for couples to celebrate and to involve their family and friends and those that are around them.
Thank you, Wendy. Diane, you have been credited for revolutionising the whole planning, styling and concept design of luxury weddings and events in Australia. Congratulations, firstly. Tell us your story.
Well, basically, I started 7 years ago, actually 8 years ago, and didn't think that I would be in this position that I am now. And I guess it was the act of giving when I started. It wasn't something that I put a strategy together for, to be a planner, to be where I am now. But I guess from starting with that one person in the beginning, showing the passion, helping them with something that was so important to them, these are important moments. And being part of that journey is something that I was excited to be about. And it's that one client leading to the second client and leading to this business that has evolved. And, you know, we've reshaped what events mean in the Australian market.
That's great, thank you. And at the moment, there's obviously a few challenges out there. We've seen that traditional weddings that have, you know, obviously been of a larger size being downsized. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, look, at DK Events, I've seen two trends happen during, two scenarios happen during COVID. We're known for our larger weddings. So we've got the clients, 70% of our clients don't want to compromise. They can't reduce their numbers. They're the first people to get married in their family, especially big cultural weddings. And it's just really hard for them to reduce, and the uncertainty is giving them anxiety. So they're just postponing. They don't want to deal with it. But then the other 30% of our clients, and something that we're seeing trending with new clients, is that they want to move on with life. They don't want to deal with it. They just want to move ahead. And so what they're doing is they're working within the restrictions. In some cases, some of our couples actually, you know, are governed by their parents with these second family members, third cousins that they have to invite, and other people. So they're actually liking the fact that they're keeping it more intimate. So they are reducing the numbers. And I guess I've found, like, I've got couples in the next few months that have gone from 300 to 150. I've got couples that we're streaming to international guests, the wedding, just to keep them involved. We've also got couples that we're actually seeing a big increase in boutique style events. This has been such a good positive, come out of this for the event people, that people missed seeing family and friends in lockdown. They really did, and they became so sentimental. And I guess it's one of those things that we've noticed, that the minute people are allowed to have 20 people at their homes or have 50 people in a venue, they were ringing us and wanting to celebrate those milestones. So birthdays, christenings, proposals, we definitely saw people asking for them, and they didn't hold back on things like food and catering as well as styling. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's a really good snapshot as to where we are at the moment, isn't it? Najee, you have worked within your family business since the age of 15 with your sister Priscilla. That's quite amazing. Tell us, have you always been passionate about food?
Priscilla and I grew up in the family business from the age of 7, so we weren't allowed into sport activities or on the weekends. It was like solely on work. Today, the brand, after 35 years, has the catering division, the event division, and also we established our restaurant in December. So Priscilla and I run all 3 divisions of the company.
That would keep you very busy, I'm sure.
It does.
And what are you seeing at the moment in terms of audience experience and interactivity?
So we're seeing a lot now, especially with the wedding industry. For us, we work in different spaces, so it's been good for us. So we work in museums, universities, homes. A lot of people have big property, land, and they're moving away from the function centres and moving the events into their own homes. We also have our restaurant, which has taken a lot of weddings. So a lot of people have downsized. They've started to do smaller weddings over 2 days or 2 sessions to accommodate for their larger numbers.
Thank you. And I can say I have personally had the pleasure of experiencing Beatty myself, and it is definitely a must try. So thank you. Courtney, this is going to be a very big call, but you are definitely one of the most passionate and creative stylists that I have met in the hire industry. So thank you for doing what you do. And tell us what motivates you, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Chrissy. I think for me, it's definitely the relationships I create with my clients. I just love being part of the entire process, from the initial design meeting to being there on the end of the day and seeing the end result. I definitely love the creative aspect of my role, the level of research which goes into trends and interior styles. It really inspires me to consistently excel in the events industry. And ultimately, I just love being able to use my creativity to offer clients ideas and styles and really create that vision for their event. It's such a great feeling.
Thank you, Courtney. I think a really important point that you touched on there is relationships. People like planning their wedding with people that they like. It's a whole fun process. It's your big day. So I think that's very important. Thank you. And at the moment, have you seen a bit of a trend with couples this year not being able to secure traditional venues at this time? What are the options?
We have seen an increase in marquee structures, outdoor weddings, both on private properties and in public spaces. So with all of our structures, you have the flexibility to change the size to cater for the new 4 square metre rule. So some of our couples need that extra space for their numbers, and the flexibility during this time is great. We're actually currently working on a wedding for 100 people using our gorgeous atrium structure, which we're using the 15 by 30 metre size, which will allow for the 4 square metre rule, bar area, cocktail furniture, and then a small stage. So the atrium, as you can see, it's an impressive building, and it's basically a venue in itself. So this alternative to a traditional space was a really easy decision for the couple. Yeah.
Thank you. It is such a great structure that is easily to transform into quite a unique experience. So that's great. Thank you. Wendy, in terms of the shift that you're seeing at the moment, is there anything that you can tell us with some changes that have been happening?
I think the ongoing changes is what, change is the only constant at the moment. Yeah. So we have seen shifts to downsizing weddings. We have seen shifts to local destination weddings, which I think is going to be a huge opportunity for the wedding market, because you can't get married overseas. Local destination honeymoons, the hens and the bucks even staying and taking place within each state. In terms of weddings specifically, people still want to celebrate, as everyone has said. So it is about how that can take place, what will replace the entertainment component, what can you and can't you do. So at Wedded Wonderland, we are trying to keep our couples as informed as possible, keep the industry informed in regards to COVID-safe practices. But the shift definitely has been around mindset. Sentiment and the story of one's love journey is sitting at the center of wedding celebrations today, which is incredible. It has always been there, but I think it's definitely heightened right now. And we are seeing that couples are, integrating ideas of having screens, the digital component, the casting, sending out bonbonnieres and favours to people who can't attend, a party in a box packs to people's homes, for example. So many different ways to incorporate those who are participating at the wedding and those who missed dearly at these celebrations, and how to integrate that into the new way of doing weddings.
Oh, that's fantastic, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Diane, how are you seeing people have fun and stay safe at the same time, and how are the two integrated together?
Have fun, wow. I guess it's one of those things. Well, my advice has been to my clients, couples, or those that are having smaller events under the restrictions, that if you decide to proceed, you need to actually embrace COVID restrictions into your event and celebrate it, have that integrated and doing it in a creative way. And I think for us, it's about creating, being creative in the way that we incorporate it, but at the same time, not discounting the fact that we need to be safe. We need to understand that we need to create a safe environment, because some of their families, even if it's only a 20 people christening, some people's thresholds are very different to others. So you want people to feel like they're coming to this event and that the people that are hosting it have thought about these safety measures. So what we are doing, a few examples, we actually had a kids party a few weeks ago, and what we did was we got the COVID masks customised with, the mermaid theme on the masks. And it was such a cool way of softening, but keeping safe. Branding sanitised stations is another thing. On arrival, branding them, customising them with a theme. The other thing is there's so much uncertainty, and the traditional invites are not working at the moment, because you print them and then things change again. So thinking about digital invitations and animating them so they can be sent to the guests, again, reducing touch points. Also, this is a catering thing as well. I think people are so scared about food stations, but we don't need to remove food stations. We've just got to be smart about how we do them. So rather than people touching food and serving themselves, having the staff serve people, but still having these amazing food stations, which look great, but then again, it's a silver service. So there's a positive element there. The other thing is just really going back to what Najee said before, looking at spaces and being creative with floor plans and how we utilise those floor plans. So there's definitely fun ways of being creative, brings the fun in it, and at the same time keeping safe.
Yeah. Thank you. And something that you touched on there around the food is definitely what I plan to ask Najee as well now. Food is obviously a major consideration with how it's being served right now. What other changes have you seen?
So what we've done a lot, we've collaborated with a lot of celebrity chefs. So a lot of restaurants these days are very quiet. So it's a great opportunity now to work with some of the big chefs in Australia and collaborate, just to bring that difference to a wedding. So a lot of weddings that we've got coming up, we've collaborated with different chefs. For canapes area, we can have one style of cuisine and then going into the main dining area. A lot of pastry chefs, building up the wedding cake, a lot of theatrical with the chefs. That's where we're going towards now. With regards to sharing, we've toned that down a little bit, and we're more now individual, but being a little bit more creative. Creating the theatre on the table, using dry ice, using different things to bring that creativity. So that's where we're moving now towards with food.
Thank you. They're all great ideas. And Courtney, what trends and styles do you see popular this season?
I'm seeing a large focus on sustainability in the events industry, and a real emphasis on a less is more approach. So in these eco-conscious times we live in, couples are looking at ways to be as environmentally conscious as possible. So some examples are using faux floral arrangements, or even having simple stem arrangements that guests can take home. Hiring or repurposing decor, sourcing locally, and even just creating that eco appearance through natural colour palettes and styling. Another trend and also a sustainable approach is the use of experiential lighting and the use of technology. There's been a massive influx on production and really creating that experience for your guests. So some examples that we've seen at Harry's are using neon signage, LED service bars or entrance tunnels, and even neon centerpieces. In the past, we've suspended pixel tubes and chandeliers on this motorized system, which created this vivid and dynamic ceiling feature over the dance floor, which was such a spectacular experience for their guests. The last trend I wanted to touch on was the traditional side of weddings and how it's making a comeback. So we're seeing many couples move towards their parents' house or having it on private grounds and keeping it really personal and intimate, which is particularly relevant during these times.
Thank you, Courtney. And I think the point that you touched on around experiential lighting, I don't think it's a number one go-to for couples, but it really can really enhance the overall experience of a wedding, can't it? And just in terms of, Wendy, couples at the moment have a lot of questions around this time of uncertainty, and you have a Facebook group available as a forum for them to tune into and ask questions. Can you tell us more about this?
Sure. So we launched the forum really to offer the opportunity for couples to voice their concerns and their ideas, their opinions, and there's a lot of repeat questions, and so people realise, I'm not the only one feeling this way. We also have invited the wedding industry to be a part of this Facebook group, so they can answer some of the questions in regards to, can I take photos on my wedding day, which was one of the questions when the mingling, can we mingle? Does that mean that I can take a photo with my family? Does it mean that I can walk around my reception? So, the regulations that are coming out, a lot of them are open to interpretation to a certain extent. And I think it's really important to have a dynamic approach to this and to have the opportunity for couples to have a voice in this whole process as well. We had one bride quite early on say, we're going to have our ceremony now, we're postponing our reception to our 1-year anniversary. And so many people were like, that's an amazing idea, I'm going to do that too. So feeding those ideas and feeding that advice is important. We've had couples now share their home celebrations, their private property weddings, and we had a bride last week that was an Italian Greek wedding. It took place in the home. They have postponed their reception to a later date. And the father was walking the bride down the stairs at the back of the house and through the backyard. And it was just so beautiful to see. And it was styled incredibly. The food looked like how our parents used to feast 20, 30 years ago when we had our christenings, one really large table and everyone coming together. And obviously, COVID compliant and with the restrictions in place. But so many people want to have their ceremony now. They want to move forward with their lives. And we are seeing that celebration play out and being celebrated through this Facebook group and having the industry partake in the conversation as well, which we just find so important. We are also updating as soon as any of the states' premiers come out and are advising around restrictions. We do update the group very regularly on that and keep that conversation going. I think right now, I don't have the answers, none of us do. It's about allowing people, and I think that's why this seminar is so important as well, that we are continuing the conversation. We are not staying silent as an industry. We want to have a voice. We want to be there for our couples, and having the X amount of followers online. Right now, what is so important is that we give as a community, as an industry, the ideas that we have and the creativity that we have, and our couples, we just want to get them wedded. That's what we keep saying over and over again. We just want to make it happen for them. Yeah.
Thank you, Wendy. It's great that they have somewhere to turn to at a time when they've got so many questions, so that's great. Diane, the number one question everyone is asking, what do you do when there's no dancing? And how can you keep all the guests engaged in the wedding?
Oh, wow. So I think I'd be lying to say that when it came out that there was no dancing and no mingling, I think your Facebook page went on fire, exploded. To some people, and I will say a lot of my clients, because a lot of the clients we do are cultural weddings, and they celebrate through dancing. And it was a deal breaker for some. That it wasn't about reducing numbers. I think people could live with that. But I think the no dancing was a huge deal breaker. So for some people, majority of my clients, they're moving out. And they're moving it to a later date. To what Wendy's point was, we've got clients that do want to move on, so they're doing their ceremonies now. Civil ceremonies or church ceremonies, having an intimate dinner with the hope of having a huge celebration with dancing later. But then we also have couples that are continuing with no dancing. And I guess what the point that we're trying to do for those weddings is really focusing on service and experience. And making that such a thing, and making sure that when guests walk into that restaurant, that venue, that, you know, they do feel there is atmosphere. Because that's the thing, it's like, how are we going to have atmosphere without dancing? And the ways we're doing this is, you know, working closely with the catering manager, talking through how we can be creative with food, looking at things like entertainment, so a roving musician around guests, looking at airless performance and just theatrical elements throughout the event. And I guess just trying our best to keep people engaged through these different aspects, and of course with the styling.
Yeah, thank you. Some great ideas there. Najee, over the next 12 months, what advice would you personally give couples?
I would actually tell them, if their heart is set on the date, just continue with it. And like Diane said, there's a lot of things that we can do to make the experience beautiful. If you're not happy with, you still want the whole dancing and that, then postpone. There are a lot of event spaces. Don't be restricted by, there's no reception centres. You can see that through the images. We can take spaces that are complete, a university, redo it all up, your own backyard, work with Harry the Hirer and creating beautiful structures in there, furniture, everything's possible. So I would recommend, if your heart is set on the date, like a lot of people are, just continue with it. If it's not, then postpone so you can have the whole dancing, but there's no definite answer what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's a good insight. Thank you. Courtney, from an event planning perspective, what do you see that couples might need to consider at the moment?
Look, there are a couple of considerations we need to be mindful of now. One is the 4 square metre rule. So venues or structures will require more space to accommodate your guest numbers. What we all need to question is, can your venue allow for this space? Will you need to reduce your numbers? Or will you need to find a new space entirely? The other rule is, of course, the no dancing rule, as Diane touched on at the moment. So we would have to remove the dance floor, but there are other opportunities like, you know, creating a photo opportunity or bringing in extra furniture. So there's definitely other ways at which we can work with this rule. And a reminder, however, is that the rules are forever changing. I would suggest to get good advice from event experts and, you know, who will keep you informed and will suggest other ways around it.
Thank you, Courtney. Wendy, what do you see the future of weddings looking like post-COVID-19?
Look, I think the wedding industry in Australia over the past, you know, I would say 5 years in particular has really evolved. I believe that weddings have truly become the epitome of celebrating a couple's love. They have become branded events for certain people who have really unique ways to celebrate what they love through food, through experience. We have seen a transformation in international weddings, and the application of that. Australia is really a leading market in the wedding industry internationally, and this is a testament to my peers sitting next to me and a lot of people that work in the wedding industry here. So we will continue seeing shifts, and we will continue seeing new and creative ways of celebrating. And I think it is about what Diane said in regards to embracing what these restrictions actually mean. This is a global pandemic. It is something that is part of our daily lives and the way that we live and the way that we operate. So if you want to get married and you want to get married at the date that has been set, as Najee said, it's so important to consider what that actual wedding means for you and how you want to celebrate that. And there will be so many ideas that you will see come out over the next 6 to 12 months. It is time for the industry to get creative once again. We have the time now to do that. But the evolution of weddings is continuing. And I was actually asked a question the other day, will some of these trends, stick? They will. People will start to have more intimate events. They will start to have the private events, the installation, the unique concepts around transforming spaces. This is something that we were seeing taking place pre-COVID, and now we can really put it into practice because this is what COVID is calling for in regards to weddings. When it comes to food experiences, we have a family wedding coming up, and I've looked at that menu and gone through it with a fine-tooth comb because really that's where the memory, when people walk away from a wedding, what do they talk about? They talk about the food, right, first and foremost, and how they felt, the ambience, the experience, the love of the couple and how that was showcased. So that's where these moments are going to be really highlighted, I think, as well. Food is an integral component, and arousing any of the senses. So, and thinking about that via styling, via theatre, and people will really enjoy these experiences because we have been in lockdown. We haven't been able to see our family and friends. These celebrations are so important to us, and so it really is a time now to allow the industry to shine and for couples to showcase their love in their own unique way, and we will continue seeing that evolve.
Thank you. That's really interesting that, some of these initiatives might actually stay on.
Yeah.
That's great. Diane, there's obviously two different types of couples at the moment. So there's couples that have already booked venues and trying to work out what they're going to do. But then there's also couples that are recently engaged and hesitant to book. What advice can you give to those couples?
That's a really good question. I guess one of the biggest things I will say is, especially going through the 6 months of COVID with current clients, is the whole journey of planning a wedding should be something exciting. And that's been taken away from our clients and from our couples. And it's been heartbreaking to see that people just want to see it come and go. So I think if I take a step back, it has to be enjoyable. It has to be something that, makes you feel excited. So for the ones that are in the current scenario that have postponed once, twice, that have lost the energy, go back to and think about, why you're getting married and what's important to you. So obviously people are getting married because they love each other and they want to celebrate it with people who they care about, with their family and friends. So I think it's important for those couples that are caught up in the whole COVID uncertainty and no one can tell us the answers. No one will know when dancing will happen. No one will know when you can have 300 people. I think my advice to them is to sit back and think about what's really important. And if it means, getting married because you want to start a family, you want to move on with your life, then just get married. Just go ahead with the current restrictions, embrace the restrictions, and let the professionals around you help you overcome that. And I think that's a really important thing. And then do things like, we can always continue to celebrate the way we used to. And that could be in a year's time having that big celebration. So definitely remove the anxiety. You don't want to look back in 5 years' time and regret being so anxious and regret that you didn't have what you wanted. Then the new couples, I think, obviously they're scarred by looking at what's happening from the outside and seeing, looking on social media, seeing that people are not able to do what they want, feeling that couples are, caught up in contracts with suppliers. And I can understand them being hesitant, but my advice to them is that once things lift and restrictions ease, it is going to be chaotic. So I definitely think use this time to think about what's important to you. Definitely think about what's important to you, what your budget is. Do you want to have a big wedding? Do you want to have an intimate wedding? Do all the groundwork now, do all the research. So because that window will be very limited when things ease, so that you're ready to, book things in, because it will be, it will be busy. So we don't want you to miss out. And I definitely think that if you can, get help. Ask, a professional, a planner, a stylist to help you with that process so that you can enjoy it more and they can give you advice and help you enjoy that journey, because really it's about, going through the journey and having and looking back and making sure it's enjoyable.
Thank you. That really is fantastic advice. I'm sure all the couples out there could get some comfort from that. So thank you, Diane. Najee, what have you learnt within the last couple months that's something that you might introduce in your business in the future?
So first of all, with the whole COVID situation, we learnt that you never give up. You continue going. There were a lot of challenges in the beginning of COVID. What do we do? How are we going to do it? but we kept going and we introduced a lot of new things into the weddings. We've seen from our catering where people have moved away from the whole big 350 people in beautiful spaces, and they've moved now towards our restaurant, and they've downsized to say 80 people, 100 people. And weddings that are happening on a Monday, Friday during the week, and also on the weekend. We've got couples that had booked 200 people for a wedding but can't accommodate. So we're seeing a lot of people doing like the church or the celebrate with the celebrant, and then we're doing the lunch for friends, and then we're having the break. They do their photos, and then coming back to a dinner reception with family. So we're seeing 2 sessions so they can accommodate all their guests. Cocktails for one group, and then for friends, and then one for family. We're seeing a lot, and I think that's going to continue. I think people are changing. They're going to continue, and it's all now about like family, food, and culture. And that's what it is. It's all about family. They're going back now. It's no more about the whole social media. It's all about now family, enjoying it with family, beautiful moments, and going longer, 6-7 hour weddings, like enjoying the moment. And that's what we're seeing a trend in.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. That's great. Courtney, it's no secret that Harry the Hirer, much like the rest of the events industry, has been severely affected by COVID-19. As New South Wales' situation improves, can you see that more people are celebrating now and we're getting some more inquiries?
Look, it is no lie that the events industry has been impacted. However, as we see the restrictions ease in New South Wales, there has been some more confidence in couples to start planning again. The weddings that we are working on at the moment are much more intimate, yes, and they are mostly in marquees or on private properties. We're also planning many pre-wedding functions as some couples start to move their larger weddings to next year or when COVID's finished. People are certainly still celebrating, but it's just in a different way. I think what we need to remember is that whenever there is a problem, there's always going to be solutions. So it is best to just stay positive during this time.
Thank you, Courtney. We thought we'd end on a bit of a positive note and more of a general note, really around mindfulness and getting through a pandemic. And I feel like Wendy's very well positioned to answer this in terms of some advice that you might be able to give to everyone in general out there.
Sure. So when COVID hit, I have 4 children under 7, and I actually fell pregnant during COVID. So I have a COVID baby on the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's, for me, it was about knowing that I needed to set some goals and some targets for me on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, to focus on, so I felt like I was moving forward. For the first couple of weeks, it was very challenging because I didn't know what was going to happen to my business. I didn't know when I was going to see my parents and my siblings again and my friends. And so that is all very daunting. And I think seeing it as, okay, well, I have all this time, so what can I do with this time? I actually focused on filming online courses for the wedding industry, and that was something that I actually can say I ticked that off my list during lockdown. And so I think for anyone, whether you're planning your wedding, whether you are in the industry, set some goals for yourself with the time that you have to say, I actually know that things are probably not going to be back to normal for at least another 3 months. We've just heard about Tasmania's border restrictions until December 1st. Queensland's basically saying we're not letting anyone in until Australia or, the East Coast is COVID free. So we know that this is not going away overnight. Initially, we thought it would. Initially, we thought, okay, we're in month 1, we're in month 2, things are easing up. Okay, we're going to get back to normal, going to get back to normal. And now it's no longer that rat race. It's saying, okay, we have to come to terms with the fact that this is the state of the world, that we need to operate as business owners to service our clients and ensure that they understand what our offering is and that we have a legacy to live, to keep going. The Kazami Group have been around for 35 years. Diane's been servicing weddings and events for 8 years. People in this industry want to continue their businesses and they want to do it in a way that they can offer what is required, that is COVID safe, but also that is compliant to what couples actually want right now. So it's really about, as business owners, ensuring that we stay sane and that we, we have new ideas and that we feel like we can service, because we are in the service industry. If we can't service people, this is where you really start to get into a lull. And from a couple's perspective, we want them to enjoy the journey. We want them to feel like there are people around them, there are professionals around them who know what they're doing, who are going to pick up the pieces and pull it together. The puzzle is still there. It's just being put together in a whole new way. So you're going to end up with a different image at the end, but it may be even more beautiful and more exciting than what you anticipated. So it really is about setting up some, tactical and strategic goals for yourself as a couple and as the industry to say, these are the things that I want to achieve. I'm going to focus on little, 20 minutes a day of getting there. And work with the people around me. We wouldn't be here otherwise. COVID has brought the industry together, and it has brought so many couples together to have a conversation, to have each other's back, and to feel like, I think the underlying rule here is that we are all in this together, and that we want to be able to move forward in celebrating however which way, whatever restriction comes out. We will come up with the ideas. We have the most talented people in this industry, and we will make it happen. So, fingers crossed that things do ease up around Australia and that, COVID cases drop. In the meantime, we will continue celebrating how we know best and coming up with those new and exciting ideas and focusing on what we do and what we love and what we're so passionate about.
Thank you, Wendy. Some very nice positive points to finish off on. So a very big thank you to Wendy, Diane, Najee and Courtney for joining us today. And your insight into adapting and surviving in these challenging times is really inspiring. So thank you. A very big thank you to our productions team working behind the scenes, recording the session today. Thanks for all your efforts. And thank you to all the couples that have tuned in. We hope you've benefited from today's discussion, and please do not hesitate to get in touch if there's anything that we can assist you with. Please have fun celebrating, stay safe, and we'll all see you out there soon.